So we begin today's show with these powerful words from Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And this quote reminds us of the urgency and importance of today's conversation, as we will be diving deep into two critical topics that affect our families and communities: children and mental health, and transitioning to adulthood, the focus on Gen Zs. Now, to help us explore these issues, we will be joined by two outstanding women who have dedicated their careers to working with children and young adults. First up, we'll speak with Ronke Posh Adeni, Director and Parent Coach at Le Posh School, who will shed light on the often overlooked subject of mental health in children. And on the second segment, we'll be joined by Adefola Shade Fadi, a distinguished parental strategist and teen development expert, as we unpack what it really means for today's youth, especially the Gen Zs, to transition into adulthood in a fast-changing world. So welcome to Today with John and Helen on Plus TV Africa Live. And let's sit back, relax, and stay tuned as we take a quick break and then begin a conversation that should reshape the way we support the next generation. Don't go away. According to Adam Ant, the great British singer of the 80s, mental health needs a great deal of attention. It's the final taboo, and it needs to be faced and dealt with. Joining us first on the show today is Ronke Adeni, fondly known as Ronke Posh, a dynamic and trailblazing parenting expert, educator, and entrepreneur. With a rich background spanning biochemistry, business, and Montessori education, she brings a powerful blend of science, strategy, and heart to child development. As founder of Le Posh School and the Parent Right Initiative, she champions emotionally intelligent and resilient parenting through her acclaimed programs like Right Kid 101. An award-winning author, certified family life therapist, and sought-after speaker, Ronke Posh is passionate about transforming the parenting journey and has impacted thousands across Nigeria and even beyond. Today, she brings her insights on children and mental health, a topic she's both deeply informed and passionate about. Ronke, it's so nice to have you again on the show. The last time we saw was about 3 years ago.
Absolutely. Good morning.
It's good to
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we're all eager to dig into this mostly overlooked topic of children's mental health. So we're going to enjoy this session, I believe.
I will.
So first off, could you just let's begin with the basics. What exactly is mental health in children, and how is it different from that of adults?
Okay, thank you again. So when we talk about mental health, we're talking about something that is big and wide. We're talking about the mental state of a child, the emotional, psychological state of a child. And when we talk about it being different from that of an adult, we need to understand that children have dependencies. So they don't necessarily always have coping strategies as they are growing up. However, an adult is expected to have coping strategies when it comes to that mental health, albeit we still know that a lot of us still need help. Yes. But children have far less so when it comes to handling and managing their mental health. Yes.
So what would you identify as some of the red flags that we should spot early on, that parents or teachers and they should never ignore in children?
I mean, we will have spent time with your children to understand and know them. And when I get this question, oftentimes a lot of parents don't even know how to spot it, not because they don't know it or they don't want, but they're not available. They're not available to see it. So if your child is withdrawing or eating less or putting on weight or losing weight or just having a behavior that is different from the norm, if you're that parent that in the morning is the house helps that take care of the children and in the evenings are already in bed, you're going to miss a lot of the things that are happening, a lot of the changes in the lives of your children. So for you as a parent, to pick up signs and red flags, you have to be available, you have to be present to know that this is how my child behaves normally, and these are the changes that I'm seeing. Should I be concerned?
And I wonder how that's going to work, because most parents today maybe working class, or they have their businesses to run, and their attention is oftentimes elsewhere. Well, it means we have to be more intentional.
Absolutely.
About keeping watch over our children.
And having them as well.
So could you just help us get an understanding how childhood trauma or stress manifests differently in toddlers, school-age children, and teenagers? Because these are 3 distinct stages. Yeah?
So you want me to explain?
Explain how it manifests, how stress manifests.
In children and adults.
How trauma manifests.
Trauma is something that it can be long-term. It can happen quietly and silently. It can be, say for example, pain, which is physical, emotional, mental, psychological, inflicted on a child. And it may not manifest necessarily until years later. So a child can be traumatized if they see something. A child can be traumatized if they are abused. A child can be traumatized if they are verbally abused, for example, but the signs may not manifest. You could have children, say, for example, bedwetting, children sucking, children that just start stuttering, just different behaviors, and that child has been traumatized by one thing or the other. Say, for example, a child could have been witnessing parents fighting in the house, parents quarreling, parents arguing, or even physically abusing each other. A child could be sexually abused, for example. There are different types of trauma, and they manifest in different ways. And sometimes trauma can be suppressed.
Yes.
And sometimes trauma is something that society can make you think it's normal. It can be normalized.
Yes.
Say, for example, a lot of people don't even believe that they are loved if they have not been hit.
Yes.
So they believe that, oh, I love you, that's why. And they would even quote scriptures and say that.
spare the rod and
spoil the child. But they forget that in that same Bible, it says that a rebellious child should be stoned to death in the book of Deuteronomy. So we selectively pick what we want. So because that is what we want to do.
That's what works for
so we help the children understand that, this thing I'm doing to you is because I love you. But it's actually an abuse, and cumulatively with time, that child can normalize that behavior. They can think it's okay. So you find that mommy or daddy is hitting this child over the years, and it's been normalized. And then he goes on to his marriage and hits his wife, and he's telling her that it's because I love you.
Yes.
These are different manifestations of trauma.
Yeah. So trauma could be sharp.
It could be sharp and instant.
And
it could be extended, yes.
Yes, obviously. So now the interesting thing about raising children is most times we have to learn on the job, because each scenario is peculiar, to that family. Now, we often hear parents say things like, "Oh, he's just being moody," and stuff like that. At what point does a mood swing become cause for concern?
Okay, I want to first of all talk about what you said about parenting being learnt on the job.
Yes.
So I run a parenting group online, and I have a single man in the group. He's the only one.
Okay.
Yusuf is his name. He is the only man. He's single. He's not even married. He's not married. Yes. But he wants to learn before he starts his family. And I think this is the way to go.
Yeah.
We assume that we have to learn on the job, maybe historically. But with the information we have now, I believe that there are many opportunities for us to learn about children before we have them and start using them as guinea pigs and experiments. So I've forgotten the question you asked me.
Yes, the question is about most of us thinking that, he's just being moody. When does a mood swing become cause for concern? That was the question.
When it comes to those mood swings, they often say teenagers, they stay in their bedrooms. Teenagers, at this age, they don't talk to people. They just do this, or they're on their phones and things like that. And you should be concerned. Sometimes you shouldn't even be concerned. Sometimes the child just wants some peace, in all honesty. Sometimes those children want some peace. And oftentimes there's no connection with the family. And that's what people fail to understand. It's no connection. Now, if you haven't bonded with your child in the early years, in the preteen years, and your child now becomes a teen, and you suddenly want to be close to the child, you suddenly want to know all the secrets of the child, how is that going to happen? You have not built a relationship, and you just want it to be sudden. So that child is going to be protective. That child is going to withdraw. So you find that some of them are hiding away, not because they necessarily have an issue with their mental health, or maybe they've been bullied or abused or whatever. That might not be the case. They will just be pulling away, rightly so, because, I mean, what am I talking to you about? There's nothing to talk about. I don't trust you. I don't even know you. You may be my mom or my dad, but I don't know you. Now, if you're a parent that has bonded with your child and your child is withdrawing and is moody, now, you would know. Some people will give it, I mean, theoretically, they'll say 2 weeks. Now, if my child is withdrawing, I personally won't wait up to 2 weeks, because her personality is not that way. She's not one that stays in the room or does all those typical things that the world has normalized as a behavior of teens. So if she does that one day and I've gone to her and said, I just need some time, the second day, I'm already concerned, because I know her very well. I know what she's like. Now, but if you have a child that is maybe an introvert and would normally just, pull away, and then you're observing that it's getting worse. Now, you start having those conversations, start inquiring, and then seek professional help if you don't know what to do. Seek professional help. If it's not, always seek spiritual help or seek religious help or whatever it is that we want to. Because oftentimes, the so-called spiritual help or religious help are not qualified to handle those sort of challenges. Yes.
And we often experience teenage blues in children. I think I experienced it too.
But why what do you think caused yours?
I never got to know until about a year ago or a few months ago.
I'm curious to know.
Because that 1 year was turned out to be traumatic for me, because this is a child who I'll pick up from school every day. She would jump on me, Papa, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And on this particular day, I went to pick her up in school, and she was like, don't hold me, Papa, not now, not now, don't hold me now. Let's get out of here. And she would normally sit either beside me or behind me, and we would gist to it. On that particular day, she sat directly behind me. And that was it for 1 year. Now, in between, I tried to, of course, I discussed with the mother, and we tried to see what could have resulted in that change. I don't think we got an answer for it, but we read up and did all our research, and we found out that she may just be going through teenage blues. Okay, and that it was even a mild case that we were experiencing, that even boys would go through something more serious. Until a few months ago, less than a year ago, this topic came up again. She came to visit me, and I said to her that, you remember that 1 year of trauma for me? And she smiled and I said, Papa, you don't understand. Something happened in school.
Absolutely. There's always a trigger.
And she couldn't tell anyone.
It's always a trigger.
But something actually happened.
They don't just behave, there's action, reaction. There's always a trigger.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And, and that was it. But it took how many years? If I wasn't in that kind of relationship with my daughter, she probably wouldn't have even said anything.
Yes. And that's usually the case. That's what usually happens. That those children will go through something, usually in school, or any change, where they have change. Maybe they start going to a club or a church or whatever. They now experience something. So bullying, abuse, whatever it is. And sometimes they either don't feel safe to say, or they feel they are protecting their parents from that pain or that issue. Like, I don't want my dad to be upset or disappointed, or I don't want to let down the family. It's either ways. So there's a reason. That's why it's always good to use a trusted third parties, because they can elicit, and they often are professional enough to know how to navigate and get those things out of the children. Yes. And I think really that's a strong message out there for parents. That, don't think you can handle it. Get help. Get help.
Seek help.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so we also have different parenting styles. You know, what I'll do in my home, my household, or my home, you know, will be different from what the neighbor, you know, the way we bring up our children, the way we style and shape their lives. You know, how does it affect children's mental health? Because there really isn't a standard, you know. So how do these different models that we engage in different homes, how does it affect the children? Because at the end of the day, they're all there's the same landing port for all of them.
So we do different things in our homes, and hopefully it's because we love the children. So someone that's hitting their child and smacking their child, beating their child will say, it's because I love you. And someone that is not, it's because I love you. It's still, they're all saying the same thing. Someone that's smacking their child is saying that, because I want you to be tough, and you know, and someone that's not, you know, there are different approaches to it. So the authoritarian style, the authoritative style, the liberal parent, the permissive parent.
Within the home, within the family, the way you treat the different children.
The way you different, because you're not even the same parent to all your children.
Yes.
So a lot of people say, I raised them in the same way, I raised them, nothing happened, but this one turned out like this and this one turned out like that. No, you're not the same person.
Yes.
So when you had child one, you probably were maybe up and coming, emerging financially, you know, trying to even get a hold of your whole life with another child or twins or triplets. And maybe by the time you had the third child, you had settled into it. The novelty of even having the third child is not there. So you're always going to be a different human being every time that you're raising your children.
Yes.
So your parenting style should be one that allows the child to be resilient, to have empathy, to be kind, you know, to be emotionally intelligent, because these are the things and the skills that they need to be able to manage out there in society. So a child that is not emotionally intelligent, not emotionally sound, and maybe has outbursts of anger and is not managed at all, those are the types that you see that the minute they cut them off in traffic, they're out of their car, breaking somebody's window, shouting, you know, they are out of control. So we must make sure that as parents, whatever we do, whatever our approach is, which we believe we are doing in the best interest of the children, we just have to make sure that it's balanced, it's sound, we're not damaging them, because whatever we do to them, they will do to other people. So even if you say, oh, I'm beating my children out of love, if that child goes to school and punches another one, you are the one that has trained that child to do that. So you must make sure that whatever you're doing in the home, the child is not going to go out there and replicate it. And you know, when children do things out there, if you are doing it at 1%, they are doing it at 50%, 100%. They will do it significantly more. So we just need to ensure that there's a balance.
Yes. So my next question really may still be talking about red flags, but in a different way. But I want to know, are there specific warning signs in behavior or academic performance that could point to deeper emotional or psychological issues? We've paid a lot of lip service to that. I'd like you to please define it a little bit more.
So what specifically you want me to talk about?
Emotional decline in academic
decline in academic, okay.
Yeah, decline in academic
performance.
You know, how do we link it with emotional changes or whatever in children?
Okay, so typically people would say, and it's I mean, there's statistics to it, that when a child is deteriorating and their grades are falling and they're not doing as well in school, maybe they're experiencing some kind of trauma, experiencing some kind of depression or whatever it is, something has changed in the school. But there's a flip side to it, because sometimes when children are doing very well, it's a coping mechanism as well. Sometimes when you find high flyers or the life of the party, it's usually a way, you know, sometimes you see this child is really good at art, this child is good at music, this child is, and you think, oh, that child is the child that the star child, my child must be like this child. But that child could actually be experiencing abuse and escaping into their grades, escaping into their books, escaping into their art, their music, their dance, whatever it is that they've picked up, their piano playing. That child could have just escaped into it. And you would think because the grades are good, that child is okay. And then you might have heard of people that they were very, very good in school. They were your peers, and so all of a sudden you heard that they had mental health challenge. That it broke down. Something has happened. Something has happened, and they're no longer mentally stable, or maybe they're in a psychiatric ward, or maybe they need some kind of intervention. But you say, oh, but that child, he was very, very good in school. Because we've missed so many things along the way.
So good grades isn't
Good grades isn't, and this is not what a lot of people talk about. They just assume that good grades equals good performance, good child, and everything is balanced.
Yes.
That is the one that is not doing very well, that probably has a challenge, or is a broken home, or is all those things, all those narratives.
And the flip
that
side too is that bad grades doesn't mean that...
that doesn't even, it may not mean that you've not even imagined yet. You're not even ready. Because we have some people that their grades are not necessarily good, but they are managing different multinational. They're doing, they are healthy. You know, because they're just playing as children. They're just doing what children should be doing, which was just emerging and just enjoying their life. So that's what I want to emphasize on, because it's not always the truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not always the truth.
Wow, that's quite an eye-opener there, because you know the normal thing is for us to say, oh, good grades, oh, that means everything is fine.
And that's why I really want to talk about it, because everybody wants their child to have good grades. But that child may just escape. Just let me just go and study. These people are always fighting in the house, or maybe somebody is abusing me verbally, physically, emotionally, sexually, and I just can't deal with it. So that child may not be losing sleep. That child may just decide that, you know what, let me just find something. I enjoy this. I escape into this. And it could even be their screens. You know, oftentimes some of them escape into their screens, some of them escape into one thing or the other. It's a coping mechanism.
Yes. Wow. Okay, so now we've focused a lot on parents and relationships with children. We don't want to forget that for most part of the day, these same children are in the care of teachers and teachers mostly. So now let's move our attention to schools. How do you think schools and teachers could be better equipped to support children showing signs of mental distress? What do you think they should be doing, you know, to help children?
So I always like to speak to the realities, you know, our current state, especially in our country, Nigeria. So what should teachers be doing? Now, are teachers even stable enough to help somebody? Because you cannot give what you do not have. You can't pour from an empty cup. Now, the theory is, okay, let's train our teachers to have some sort of mental health awareness and be able to identify red flags, as you call them, to be able to see that this child is exhibiting one sign or the other, and let's help the child. Yes, we should train them. They should know these things, that okay, these grades are the child's grades going down, the child is coming into school looking very rough, the child is not communicating as much, not playing as much, his child is being bullied, has scratches all over, you know, even some children come to school dirty. That's another sign that there's a neglect, because neglect is a kind of abuse as well, you know. So the teacher can see those sort of signs and begin to raise the flags. But when we talk about the typical Nigerian teacher that is just saying, hey, I want to japa, they are not paying me enough salary. I have my own problems. I want to sell the goosey on the side. I'm looking for a side hustle, and I have 23 children in the class, 50 children in the class. How are they going to pay attention to those children?
Details. Yes, that'll be very hard. That will be very hard. Well, we'll continue this conversation in a minute.
All right.
Right, we'll take a break now.
All right, sir.
And when we come back, we'll, I'm sure Ronke Posh will still oblige us with a lot more insight into what we should do to manage our children's mental health. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Today with John and Helen live on Plus TV Africa. So we continue our discussion with Ronke Posh, our first guest on the program, a dynamic and trailblazing parent expert, educator, and entrepreneur. And she's been giving us very valuable insights into children and how to understand and manage their mental health. So Ronke Posh, let's continue from where we stopped. And honestly, I think there should be a part 2 to this discussion.
No problem.
So could you just tell us, with the rise of social media and screen time, how has technology impacted children's emotional well-being?
Right. So gadgets have become babysitters.
Yes.
gadgets have now, in many cases, disconnected children from being human. And being human, I talk about being kind, being empathetic, being loving, the hugs, the kisses, the playing around. They just sit in one place and are mostly passive.
Yes.
So it's an escape for many parents. Just let me rest, take the whatever it is and watch whatever it is. I just want peace right now. This in turn is affecting our children.
Yes.
A lot of them are into gamification. A lot of them have a lot of friends online. Some of them are inappropriate. Some of them are adults. So we find that there's sexting, there's abuse, there's cyberbullying happening online. And there's kidnapping, abducting children because they're meeting up with different people in strange places online. There's sabotaging, there's blackmail. The list is endless. Gaslighting, that is happening to children in different capacities. That would definitely, because they don't have those coping mechanisms. They don't often know what to do, So it's affecting their mental health in different ways. There's another one that is very common, which is that they compare themselves online. So the measure of their success, and most people post only the successful things.
Role models.
Exactly. So most people post the good stuff, the glamorous stuff. So they begin to have what we call social comparison. So they always believe that they're not good enough. So no matter how much you affirm them, until they look like X, Y, and Z that is probably living in debt or a false reality, they are never going to be satisfied. So they're living their life depressed because they have this aspiration. That everything's aspirational for them, and they're not hitting those milestones, they're not hitting those goals, or they don't feel as beautiful as someone that has had their body done, or somebody that is a renowned musician or footballer or athlete or whatever it is. And so it affects their self-esteem, it affects their confidence, it just affects their self-worth as a whole, and that in turn can lead to mental health challenges. And we've heard in many cases that some children have become suicidal and have committed suicide as a result, unfortunately.
Wow, and I call this thing a weapon of mass distraction.
Absolutely.
Weapon of mass destruction too. And it's really sad. And quite frankly, we must be careful.
Yes.
How much of these gadgets our children.
Even adults.
Even adults. Even adults.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
It needs to be managed.
Yes. Then I'd also want to know what practical steps can parents take at home to create a mentally supportive environment for their kids, because there's no book that really tells us which is the best way. So how do we go about it? How do you set up the home to make it conducive for their mental health?
What
are the basics?
There are books. Say, for example, self-help. There are so many self-help books. You just have to know what you want to bring into the culture of your family. So, say, for example, I believe in meditation. Some families may not believe in meditation. Some families may have misconstrued it, but it's a way where we relieve our stress, where we connect with your universe, your God, whatever it is. That's a way. Breathing exercises, making sure that the family is the home is conducive enough. People can communicate and feel that they have a safe space in the home. Even keeping the house clean. Because when you've gone through everything and then you come back home and the house is upside down, that's triggering.
Yes.
So even simple things, because sometimes we always think as if we have to go extend ourselves and learn one huge big thing. But just the simple things, playing nice music in the home, keeping the house very clean, coloring, there's coloring that you can do, playing games, enjoying a book, as opposed to reading it on a screen. Just enjoy a book. Simple things. Just find those things that work for your own unique family, and then do them as a family. Do
I
them
would have
together.
been surprised if you didn't talk about colors, because you're a lady of colors.
I love that. I love colors, and for me, even when I've gone through my own trauma in recent times,
uplifting.
It's uplifting. Sometimes I would just do my coloring in different colors. My daughter likes to buy me different felt pens and books, and I will color them and I'll post them online, my stories. I love what I've created.
Yes.
Oftentimes we are consumers. We forget that we also need to produce. Consuming all the time online is also something that can affect your mental health. Sometimes when you're the one that produce something, even producing this show, producing a work of art and displays, there's an internal
Yes.
satisfaction and gratification that you get
And the
from
fact
doing
that
that.
you even engaged yourself in producing
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah, that's sweet. So, parents, back to parents, and professional help. When should a parent, consider seeking professional help, and what should they expect from the first visit to a child therapist or psychologist? What should we? So many of us haven't even thought about it. Seeking professional help.
Yeah.
So when should we do it?
The moment you start seeing those changes, start considering it. And then when you find that you are now talking to BC, Bola, Mariam, all those your friends, because you don't know what to do.
Yes.
They don't know what to do either. Just know that that's the sign. When you're raising, I don't know what's wrong with this child. I don't know what's wrong with this child. What happened? And that one say, it happened to my child 12 years ago. My child too did that. When you all are confused, you don't know what to do. That's already one sign that get help for your children. And then I always encourage that children should belong to groups where they talk about mental health, groups where they talk to teens. You don't have to wait until things are bad.
Yes.
I believe in prevention as opposed to looking for something. When you talk about what Frederick Douglass talked about, it's easier to prevent it. It's easier to have a safe space for your children. So my child, for example, the other people, because I belong to a community of therapists, some of them are my friends, the people that she can talk to as well. They do training courses that she attends. She's a mental health coach in her school. She's done a course in that. She's done an emotional intelligence course. She's just 19 and she's done this over the years. You don't have to wait until the child, because sometimes you just equip them with coping mechanisms themselves. If they understand that this is happening because of this is happening because of this, it actually makes them more mature, because sometimes when they see that their peers doing certain things, they'll be like, that one doesn't get it, that one doesn't. You're already equipping them. So parents do not assume that everything is English and maths in school. Some things you would have to pay for outside of school. Parents, you need to understand that education is not about grades alone. It's about developing and raising and building a holistic individual. And that might also include doing things out of the four corners of a school.
And that would be emotional intelligence, yes?
And even more than that, whatever it is that you feel your child should, customer service, for example, communication skills, for example. These are some of the courses that I put my daughter on, because I maybe because of the learnings, there's some things that I want her to know how to do. I need you to know how to communicate.
Yes.
I love to communicate, and I cannot imagine you not being able to communicate. And it's a 21st century skill, creativity, collaboration, all those things. The minute I see that they're training or they're talking about it somewhere, even if it's an online Instagram live thing, I'll put her on it and she's learning. And there's so many opportunities to learn these days. So why not do that with our children?
There are so many opportunities. And I was going to add that maybe you should be like Yusuf, Mr. Yusuf. No, don't wait till.
Don't wait.
Don't wait till you've started having children.
Don't wait till you have started having children. Yeah.
Right. Great. It's been so good having you.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Like I said, this will be program 101 or
No
the
problem.
program.
No problem.
We'd like to have you talk more about this because I think the more we talk about it, the better we feel as parents.
Absolutely.
So as we end this impactful session with Ronke Posh, we hold on to the words of Nelson Mandela. There can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Thank you, Ronke, for challenging us to reflect, reimagine, and raise children with empathy, intention, and bold love. So we'll take another break now, and when we return, we should have with us our next guest, Adefola Shade Fadi, a distinguished parenting strategist and teen development expert, speaking on transitioning to adulthood with special focus on the Gen Zs. Stay with us.